Good evening. You are tuning in to AWANI Tonight with me, Cynthia Ng. Malaysia recorded 329.5 billion ringgit of approved investments in 2023, a 23% increase than the year before. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim says this amount is the highest approved investment in the country's history. Anwar, who is also Finance Minister, said of the total, foreign investment was the main contributor of 57.2% compared to domestic investment of 42.8%. He said this was supported by an increase of 35.1% for domestic investment and 15.3% for foreign investment. He added that the approved investment, spread across over 5,000 projects, is poised to generate over 127,000 new job opportunities. Besides that, Anwar said the service sector spearheaded the investment inflow, contributing 51.1% of the total, followed by manufacturing 46.1% and the primary industries 2.8%. Thousands gathered at the State Legislative Assembly complex in Kuching, Sarawak to pay their last respects to former State Governor Tun Abdul Taib Mahmud. His remains were later laid to rest at a family cemetery in his Demak Jaya residence. Sarawak's longest-serving Chief Minister was buried next to the grave of his first wife, Datuk Patinggi Puan Sri Laila Taib. Prior to the burial, funeral prayers were held at Masjid Demak. Among those joining the prayers was Sarawak Premier Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Openg, Sultan of Brunei Sultan Hassan Al Bolkiah, and his son Prince Abdul Matin Bolkiah. Taib died at a private hospital in Kuala Lumpur just before dawn on Wednesday. The Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission (MACC) say the two sons of former Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad can reapply for another extension to declare their assets. However, its chief Tan Sri Azam Baki insists that any application will be subject to review.
Azam confirmed on Thursday that a one-month extension was also given to Tan Sri Mokhzani Mahathir, adding that it was reasonable due to the extensive nature of his assets. On Wednesday, the MACC was reported to have granted Mokhzani's older brother, Tan Sri Mirza Mahathir, the same 30-day extension 4 days ago. The two sons of Dr. Mahathir are currently being probed by the MACC and have been asked to declare their assets. The anti-graft agency reportedly served a notice to Mirzan under Section 36(1)(b) of the MACC Act to declare all his movable and immovable assets, whether inside or outside of the country, within 30 days of January 18th. Mokhzani is being investigated under the MACC Act 2009 and the Anti-Money Laundering, Anti-Terrorism and Proceeds of Unlawful Activities Act 2001. According to the duo, the MACC has requested a list of assets going back to 1981, the year their father became the Prime Minister for the first time.
Recently, there was a proposal by the government to allow foreign graduates of local higher education institutions to work in the country amid a talent crunch in certain sectors. How should we assess this idea? We speak to Khazanah Research Institute's Dr. Muhammad Amirul Rafiq for his thoughts on the proposal, which is still in the discussion phase.
It's not that I'm against opening up opportunities, but we have got to tread carefully, especially when it comes to the livelihood of our talent, our fresh graduates, right? So the reality is stark. We have long grappled with this persistent issue of low starting pay. 70% of our graduates earning less than 2,000 for their first jobs. And there's also a glaring issue of this skill mismatch. It is quite disheartening to witness our half of our fresh graduates are actually struggling in the job market because of their qualification does not commensurate with the industry needs. So bringing in foreign graduates also add another layer of complexity. While it may address immediate talent shortages, but we must not overlook our own graduates in the interest of our economic growth.
Last month, International Trade and Industry Minister Tengku Datuk Sri Zafrul Abdul Aziz said that the electrical and electronics sector requires 50,000 engineers. Malaysia, however, only produces 5,000 engineer graduates a year, not including foreign graduates and Malaysians who study abroad. In order to solve the lack of talent issue, Amirul stressed on the need to focus on producing graduates that meet industry demands instead.
The most important thing, first and foremost, I think we need to have a focus on enhancing the quality of our education and training provided by our education institutions. And this could include aligning the curriculum with industry needs and also promoting quality and hands-on experience for internships and also practical training. And it's important for us to foster the culture of lifelong learning so that we can ensure that our graduates can remain relevant in the evolving job market. And secondly, we should put more efforts on to bridging the gap between academia and industry by fostering a stronger partnership and collaboration. I know that we already have this various policy like 2U, 2I initiative, 2 years in universities and 2 years in industries and what sort. But this good policy must be strengthened and also should involve established industry relationship. And this if you want to create this internship program, the robust internship program, it should be with industry's partner who actually employing our talent itself. So, and facilitating this technology transfer is also important to ensure that our graduates are equipped with the skills and knowledge that our employers demand. And finally, of course, initiative to retain and attract our talent. This should be prioritized. It could involve offering competitive salaries and benefit. So if we could afford to pay 10,000 for foreign talent for the same position, for the same qualification and job requirement, why don't you put the same skill to our local talent, right?
We will be back with more after the break.
Daulat Tuanku.
The Malaysian delegation under the Malaysia-Indonesia Journalists Alliance, AWANI, comprising of 33 journalists and heads of the media, has concluded their visit to Indonesia earlier this week. Throughout the visit, the delegates managed to explore the media environment there, while at the same time fostering closer ties between the journalists from these two countries.
Global landscape pretty much driven by knowing each other better, based on the principle of multilateralism. And I guess this is why it is important for us, the journalistic sphere, media personnel at large, get together in various settings to get each other better and to understand each other's strengths as well as differences. And with that element in place, with those elements in place, and then we love to see how the conversations going. And for instance, in the likes of sustainability, ESG and SDG, we are long way to achieve that goals at the end of the day. And what matters the most is, with this collaboration, we strengthen the understanding and also some sort of loose agreement by looking at what are the things that matter the most to the people in this region, in each other's country. And from there, we will craft a better narrative for us to understand how to move forward from here.
On February 12th, a total of 15 journalists from various Malaysian news agencies arrived in Jakarta, Indonesia, in conjunction with AWANI's 10-day study program. While there, they had the opportunity to visit the Press Council, Antara News Agency, the Ministry of Communications and Informatics, among others. They also witnessed the election process of the third biggest democracy in the world and attended Indonesia's 78th National Press Day celebration.
Facebook parent Meta Platforms said it has no obligation to compensate news publishers for content shared voluntarily by users in Indonesia. This announcement comes in response to a recent government mandate seeking a sharing of profits between digital platforms and local media firms. On Monday, President Joko Widodo signed a regulation requiring digital platforms to pay media outlets that provide them with content, a move aimed at leveling the playing field between big tech companies and the media industry. Rafael Frankel, Meta's Director of Public Policy for Southeast Asia, said that despite the new regulation, the company is not obliged to pay for news content that publishers voluntarily post. Meta argues that its users do not primarily visit its platforms for news content. Instead, news publishers willingly share their content on Meta's various platforms, not the other way around. The new regulation is expected to come into force within 6 months. Digital platforms will be required to partner with local news outlets through licensing, revenue sharing, data sharing, or other arrangements. More than 2,000 people were ordered to evacuate from the west of Australia's Victoria state as a bushfire rages out of control. The State Emergency Service urged residents to head east to the nearby regional centre of Ballarat while it was still safe to do so.
Around 50 square kilometres of land was burning in the northwest of Ballarat, where temperatures were above 40 degrees Celsius. A similar area was also burning out of control further west. No property damage has been reported so far. State Premier Jacinta Allen said more than 1,000 firefighters, 24 aircraft and 100 vehicles were on the ground, with more expected to join the battle. The Bureau of Meteorology also issued extreme fire danger warnings for several districts due to hot, dry winds and the potential for thunderstorms.
Turning our attention to the United States, a ruling from the Alabama Supreme Court that frozen embryos are considered children under state law has sparked concerns regarding the implications for fertility treatments. A major hospital in the state has paused their in vitro fertilization (IVF) services over fears it could expose them to criminal charges. The University of Alabama Birmingham Hospital, the largest in the state, said that it must now evaluate whether its patients or doctors could face criminal prosecution or punitive damages for undergoing IVF treatments. The court ruling stemmed from wrongful death cases involving 3 couples whose frozen embryos were destroyed in a fertility clinic accident. This decision has sparked warnings about its impact on fertility treatments and the status of frozen embryos, which were previously considered property by the courts. IVF involves fertilizing human eggs outside the womb, with unused eggs typically stored for future use, medical research, or destruction. Not all embryos survive the freezing and thawing process, making the destruction of some embryos a common aspect of IVF. Authorities in the United States have charged the head of a Japanese crime syndicate with conspiring to traffic nuclear materials from Myanmar. Takeshi Ebisawa is accused of trying to sell uranium and plutonium believed to be destined for Iran to build nuclear weapons.
The 60-year-old leader of the Japanese Yakuza Mafia was indicted along with his Thai co-defendant, Somhop Singasiri. According to federal officials, the nuclear materials were transported from Myanmar to Thailand to an undercover Drug Enforcement Administration (DEA) agent posing as a drug trafficker with ties to an Iranian general. The 2 men had been charged in 2022 with international narcotics, trafficking and firearms offenses and were ordered detained. Ebisawa is considered a senior figure in the Yakuza with operations in Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Thailand and the US. Both face life imprisonment if convicted.
That wraps up AWANI Tonight. I'm Cynthia Ng. Thank you for watching and good night.
Hello and good evening. I'm Melissa Idris. Welcome to Consider This. This is the show where we want you to consider and then reconsider what you know of the news.